everybody. Welcome to the Hello Road podcast, where we talk about unique and forgotten cars. We talk about road trips. We talk about all sorts of fun experiences we can have in our automobiles. And I think we have some project car updates today that we'd like to get into. My name is Ethan.
And my name is Paul.
And yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on. At least I do. I know you've got a few things happening with the Fit. I have a couple cars that I may have purchased recently.
Yeah.
I'm kind of making a grimace right now. I probably shouldn't have bought any more cars, but I did.
Nah, that was the thing. We talked about it. You had the space, or you cleared them out. So
but the problem is
now they're
somebody.
back.
Yeah, somebody asked me, how many cars do you own? How many are you up to now? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it happens.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, at least it wasn't like, it's not like children, and it's like, how many kids do you have now?
12, 13? 13,
I think.
Yeah.
I sold one of them. But honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing to have that many. So it's good. If you've got the space for them, might as well,
Well, and I can justify it like this. They're all very inexpensive cars, right, and I don't really do a whole lot to fix them, so they don't ever really get that much more expensive. So although we could probably get into it a little bit today with the vehicles that are now in the stable that I might have spent a little bit more than I should have, but we'll get into it.
Okay, all right, that sounds fun.
So we had a nice Angeles Crest Highway drive. What was it? 2 weeks ago now, or a week ago? It's been a while.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Oh man, that was so nice. It had been
a little pandemic drive.
Yeah, a little socially distant drive because we were more than 6 feet apart from each other.
It's
driving
true.
our own cars. So
that's true.
The last time I had gone up there was when we did our little photo shoot thing for the podcast, and we went up, I don't know what, 2-3 miles up the road. We didn't go that far, and you can go back and listen to some of the past episodes when we talk about all the fun we had for that.
You should listen to the past episodes.
And the landslide.
Stop this episode and listen to the past episodes.
Go back and then listen to all of them and lead yourself back up to here. Yeah, that's exactly what you should do. But it had been so long since I had gone and driven so much on that road. I probably mentioned a couple episodes ago that I did take the back way from when I was at the racetrack a couple weeks ago at Streets of Willow back on Angeles Forest Highway. So I had done that. But when we went just 2 weeks ago, we did kind of a opposite loop and went on a road I'd never been on before. And it was just an absolute blast. It was so good because we went with a couple friends of the show, and listeners maybe, yes, and
friends and listeners. It's nice when those two forces combine.
Yes, it is. Yes. And but the few other places we had gone in the past couple weeks, or at least I had gone with our friends Adam and Rob, there was either traffic, just with people going up to go play in a river, or it was full of cyclists, which, I get, but Angeles Crest Highway is, it seems like there's a untold thing, like, don't ride your bicycle up there, and it's not for going sightseeing, because the vast majority of the cars that were up there to drive and enjoy the road and have a good time. So it was pleasant. It was very pleasant.
Well, I mean, we definitely lucked out in terms of traffic. We didn't really have that. I think we got up there early enough that there really was not a whole lot.
Right.
I think we might have got stuck behind a Corolla for a few minutes, but it seems like most of the people that drive up there are more than happy to let the faster cars by.
Yeah.
Anytime there's obviously, there's still quite a few cyclists up there, and you obviously got to be really careful.
Right.
But yeah, it was a pretty clean open road in front of us, which was really nice. And then Upper Tahunga, that road is amazing. I love that road.
That was my first time on it, and it was just a ton of fun. I don't want to say keeping up, because it sounds like we were doing things we weren't supposed to, but it was a lot of fun driving behind you and Adam ahead of us. It was a good time though. And the road was just, it was just great.
Well, and the thing is, like, there's plenty of people that drive like they're on a racetrack up there,
right?
And that's not for me. You know, if I really want to, like test the limits of my car and myself, I don't want to do it with a cliff next to me. And plenty of people are perfectly happy to do that,
right?
You know, but I don't really want to do that and endanger some family in their minivan,
right?
But you know, enthusiastic driving is what's a better word for it?
Spirited driving.
Spirited, thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Spirited driving. You know, Adam was leading the way, and it was quick, but not like stupid quick.
Right.
You know, it was like, hey, let's have some fun. Let's not tumble our car off the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, but it was
that's kind of my speed.
It was just perfect in terms of like. You know, the road was great. The conditions were great. The company obviously was great. It was such a great time, and I can't wait to get back up and do that again. And you took the 944 turbo, and
yes.
It was, you know, I was behind you for probably half the drive we were doing, and including
sorry about all the smells and the gas fumes.
It was like driving on the racetrack. It was like driving on the racetrack. No, and that was cool because there was that little tunnel that we had gone through.
Oh yeah,
and of course, you know, it's a tunnel, so you got to downshift it. And when you did that in the 944, I saw a little orange bang pop out of your tailpipe. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. That's pretty awesome that it's throwing fireballs.
I love that car so much.
Yeah, it's definitely sounds good too. It's just,
it sounds amazing. That's the most fun car I've ever owned for sure.
Yeah,
by a long shot. And the cool thing is like I didn't want to interrupt you, but you know, the sounds that thing makes is awesome. So like you said, when we get to that tunnel, you have to downshift.
Yeah, you have to. And it was funny because I don't know if you noticed, but you know, to our listeners that were out there, there was like at the end of the tunnel, there was like a whole group of people that were there, and they were videotaping. So after we had gotten back home from our drive, I was going through like all like the hashtags that I could think of, I guess, for it, trying to find it, and actually found the people who were there, but I didn't see any of their videos because they were videotaping as we all went spiritedly driving past them.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if they caught us or something like that, but I didn't see any videos, but still.
All right.
But it was pretty cool, though. I definitely want to spend more time driving on those roads because where I live, I've got Glendora Mountain Road, which is, you know, 10 minutes away from my house. And that's the road that I've been driving since I was able to drive. And, you know, it's a ton of fun and everything, but it is kind of always full of cyclists on the weekends. And, you know, it is a lot more dangerous of a road, I think, than Angeles Crest Highway because it is tighter and there's, you know, some pretty steep drops that are on that road. So, but just Angeles Crest, it feels like it was made for the enthusiast driver versus like, you know, Glendora Mountain Road, which was more, you know, it's an escape road for the people that live at Mount Baldy and live in the upper reaches of like Azusa Canyon to escape if there's a fire, which coincidentally today there's a fire up there. So
yeah, I know. I saw your Instagram post.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's again. So I don't know how much longer the road will be open for before they close it down again. So, but yeah.
Angeles Crest, you know, obviously if you know, there can be a lot of traffic and bikes depending on when you go, but if you get there early enough, there's really kind of a lot of open road, and you know, it's so nice that it's really not that far away.
Yeah.
And I don't know, have you driven the whole thing? Have you driven all the way to Whitewood?
Yes, in the past I have. I'm going to go back probably like, I don't know, almost 20 years ago that I did it, but I did it. It was one night me and my buddy were just driving around, just chit-chatting. I was like, hey, let's go drive all of Angeles Crest. Yeah, sure, why not? You know, this is when you're in your early 20s and you have no obligations the next day. And so it was when I had my Mustang, actually. And we drove the whole entire thing all the way to Wrightwood, and then realized we were all the way up by the 15 and had to haul. We went back down and had to drive all the way back to Glendora.
Sure.
We took the freeway. We didn't go back in.
Yeah, because it would take forever to go all the way back on.
Yeah, it was a long drive. I remember it being a very long drive.
Yeah, I've done it several times in the last maybe year or two.
Okay.
I did it in the Camaro SS that I had recently for a review car. That was a lot of fun. But those, as you go on the second half of Angeles Crest towards Wrightwood, I think some of the curves get a little bit more sweeping, and there seems to be some more high speed sections where it's like, okay, there's a lot of really, really steep cliffs. So yeah. And I did it in the Alfa Romeo Giulia that I rented.
Okay.
Which was a ton of fun on that road. And then I also did it in my Scion XB,
all right,
which is kind of a weird choice, but
so out of those three, which one was the best up there?
The Giulia. That was probably my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. So out of those cars, yes. Yeah. But I will say this, the Scion was fun because you could basically push the car to its limits everywhere. That one was probably just silly, and also the tires were not that good. The suspension is a little worn out. So it would squeal the rear tires, which I found very interesting. Okay. On around corners, it would squeal the rear tires. So I don't really know what that means in terms. I'm not a suspension expert, but it just felt like maybe the rear was getting light and kind of like floating across the road a little bit. That's what it felt like to me. And I'm not sure if that's just because the springs are worn. I'm not sure.
I'm not a suspension engineer either, but it could be a couple different things. But no, that's totally why I love the Fit is because when we were on our drive just this other week, I could push the Fit pretty hard, and it's not really breaking any speed limits. And it was like a ton of fun. That's the best part about driving things like that. But driving something like that Camaro you had or the Giulia, if you push that thing to the level that you were pushing your Scion or I was pushing the Fit, then you're in some pretty raunchy territory in terms of possibilities that could happen.
Sure, it's that whole slow car fast thing.
That's why it's so endearing to me, you, and many, many others. So. No,
sure.
Love it.
And actually, I will say that's maybe why I liked Upper Tujunga quite a bit. That road that's just adjacent to, or, connects to Angeles Crest, is that it's some really nice, longer, sweeping curves. There's a lot of high speed stuff, but there's not as many just very dangerous, cliffs, drops, because you probably remember that video of that Subaru WRX just tumbling off the edge of the cliff right after the tunnels.
Yeah.
That one made the rounds. Yeah, that was after the tunnels on Angeles Crest, I believe.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I remember that video. Was it a WRX or was it a... No, was it?
You're right, it was a Forester.
Forester.
It was a Forester.
One of those people that slammed their Forester.
Yeah, I believe so. I think you're right. And that's interesting because when we were driving up ACH the other day, there was a wrecked WRX. So obviously... another Subaru driver pushed it a little bit too hard on that road. There's been quite a few deaths on that road, quite a few very bad accidents. Yeah. So that's one of those things where you definitely have to respect that road because
totally.
Yep.
When I was in my younger years and spending time on Glendora Mountain Road, there was a couple that there was really bad accidents, but there was a couple people that they did lose their lives up there, and it was like, there's just really, when you're young like that, or at least, the group that did perish, they were, young, and I'm sure they were trying to push the car, that they were driving as fast as they possibly could, and not good.
Well, not good. Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. It's like there's a reason why on a racetrack you've got a roll cage, you've got helmet, you've got impact bars, you've got a halo seat, you've got a window net, so it's just that's why I'll never push my street car as hard as some of those people do on Angeles Crest. That's the thing. It's like there's plenty of people, like there's a few rules that I follow. Don't cross the double yellow. Just don't do. You can. Yeah, if you have a really clean open area and you want to get around somebody that's really slow, that's fine for me. But I don't know, if you're just coming around a corner, just going super wide, just because you're trying to use up all the road, that really annoys me.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Definitely not cool.
But yeah, anyway, I'm not gonna lecture anybody because
enough with the death and
exactly. And let's keep it fun.
Yes, exactly.
I'm being a Debbie Downer. Sorry.
It's okay. But no, overall, great time. Can't wait to go back.
Yes.
But yeah, so project stuff. Now you've got a couple things that have graced your residence. So the first thing I want to talk about, because I want to hear more about. I mean, you've already made a video for it, and it is one car that I've always it's on my like short list of things I'd love to own, and that's a first generation Lexus GS. It's so cool. I love those cars.
Yes.
I love it. How awesome is it to have? I mean, I kind of saw the video. It was a little interesting to drive and keep the RPMs up. I mean, it seemed happy for what was it, above 2,000 RPMs?
Approximately, yeah.
Approximately. So, but other than that, how's the 2JZ life?
The 2JZ life, I know, it's pretty amazing. So yes, for people that don't know, the first gen Lexus GS300 came out. It was introduced in the United States in 1993, but it was previously available in Japan and maybe other markets. I think maybe 90 or 91 as the Toyota Aristo. And in the US for the first gen, we only got the 3-liter 2JZ inline six, whereas they also had a turbocharged 2JZ GTE, I guess that's what it is. And then they also had a 4-liter V8, like you had in the SC. Mm-hmm. So we only got the naturally aspirated 2JZ, which it's 220 horsepower. It's nothing to sneeze at, I guess, but it's not exactly a fast car. It was supposed to kind of compete with the 5 Series and the E-Class. It's a mid-size, rear-wheel drive. But it's not quick. At least, obviously the one that I have is not really working very well. So maybe I should be the one to judge that. But yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's in terms of like the competition at the time, like the 5 Series, the what would that be? The E-Class Mercedes. I think it's comparable in terms of the power. Yeah. They were all around 220 horsepower.
Sure.
If not a little less, actually, I think, at that time that thing came out. So it actually was, it had pretty good power for being what it was. But, it's still, you do the math, 220 horsepower, and the thing weighs probably 2 tons. And
I don't remember the weight, but it's a portly, hefty little thing. And I have to look it up to see exactly how much it weighed. But let's see. Actually, let's look. Weight. Where's the weight? I can't find the weight. Anyway, it's kind of neat. I always like the way this thing looks. It's kind of, the front end isn't my favorite. It's kind of sort of just generic, but the rear end is what I love because it's got the high deck lid. It's got the cool like tail lights that go all the way across.
It's almost a Heckenblend, isn't it?
Almost.
I love that though. It's
Heck
so
blend.
Cool.
Yeah. There's some people that say that a heck blend has to have the light portion has to continue all the way across. That's like one school of heck blend purists. Is that a thing? I think it's a thing.
I think
I might call it a heck blend because you've got that plastic bit that kind of connects the two. So I think it qualifies.
I give it to it, but I also think I'm probably wrong, but I very well could be right. I want to say that the Japanese market Aristo actually had the Aristo badge. It lit up. If I recall correctly, I think I think it lights up. I could be wrong.
That's pretty neat.
Be right. I'm leaning towards 72% right.
Okay. Well, I'll have to look that up because there's people that have taken these Lexus GSs and sort of badged them as Aristos. So yeah, that's a thing. I'd have to look that up. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to try to keep it as.
Oh no, you definitely shouldn't because you have the creme de la creme. You have the gold package, my friend.
Yes, the gold badge
on that Lexus, the gold package. So
yes,
either the dealership originally changed all the badges to that, or somebody optioned their Lexus to have the.
That was so common back in the 90s and 2000s. It felt like every Lexus that I saw had that.
Yeah.
It must have just been like printing money for Lexus dealerships because it seems like it's maybe a dealer add-on. I don't know.
I know it very well could have been. It was very popular because not only Lexus did it, but Toyota did too. You can find gold badged Camrys
right?
are common, but you can also. I think Toyota would have done almost anything because I don't know if it was somebody that did it as a joke, but I could have sworn I've seen somebody with a gold badge Yaris before. No joke.
Yeah.
But Mercedes-Benz offered it. BMW did not offer it.
No, I don't know.
Mercedes definitely did. I remember the auto parts store I used to work for. We had all this new old stock Mercedes 300 SD badges in gold and 420 SEL in gold and the gold stars for the gold package. We had all that stuff and nobody ever bought it, but it was still like, left over from the late 80s and 90s. It was cool though. But I think that's one of the most endearing things about that car is the gold badges on it. And I think that adds value to the car. Actually, it adds to the nostalgia of it because it just makes it scream 90s more than anything.
Sure. So, and it's funny too. It also, obviously this was supposed to be kind of a sporty rear wheel drive luxury sedan, but the two people that have contacted me about this car and said, my grandmother used to have this car. It's like, it was a grandma car, a lot of Lexuses with gold badges, even the sporty GS grandmas had these things. And, it's like when you drive it, the steering is easy. The seats are just, they're not actually very comfortable seats, but it's very easy to drive. It's a Toyota, so all of the stuff is where you think it should be. The ergonomics are like basically perfect. Super cushy ride, very luxurious for the 90s. And it also, I guess back to the design. It's a Giugiaro design, so obviously, Giugiaro is responsible for some of the most iconic vehicles. This one's not exactly in the iconic category. They didn't sell very many of these things, but at least the first gen.
Right.
But that's kind of an interesting thing. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I think this might have been the only Lexus that was styled outside of Toyota. I'm not 100% sure about that. At least at the time, maybe.
At the time, maybe. I would think so. Because I know the LS was done in-house. I remember watching a documentary about the design or how they went about that car. It was on YouTube, but it was a very interesting documentary how they talked about all of the different little nuances they went through and what they wanted to do to make the car be absolutely awesome for as a flagship car, and then the GS, which was like slotted in right under that, and then that first generation ES too. That was kind of, it was not. You can call it a Camry, but it wasn't really a Camry. I forget the Japanese market name for it. It was
it was a Camry.
It was a Camry.
I mean, like the thing is, like, you looked at it. That was like, was that the first? I feel like that was like the first Lexus that I remember. But I don't know. Was it a Camry? It certainly looked like a Camry.
It was. It shared a lot of things with the Camry, and I believe you could have gotten that car.
Camry Prominent.
Oh, there you see. It was a silly thing that little things like that. I can't remember everything, but I think you could have gotten that car with a 5-speed. The
ES?
The ES 250, the very first one. Yeah, you could have had it with a manual 5-speed.
Yeah, that's true. I just remember when that thing came out. That was like, Lexus is introduced to the United States, and we've got our luxury cars here to take over the world. And I just remember seeing this thing and be like, okay, so a Camry,
with leather and really nice paint. So
well,
that's the other thing with Lexus, and I'd be curious. I want to, next time I'm over there, whenever this whole pandemic thing's over, but the paint quality on that GS. From the video, it looks fine. I mean, it needs to get, I think it needed to get washed or something, but Lexus has like I think they used to, and I think they still have one of the most like involved paint processes that's like rivaled by like Rolls-Royce and Bentley, if I'm not mistaken. Just many, layers of, just the paint that went onto the cars. So a lot of the paint stands the test of time, depending on the color, like the white pearls, like, is that one a pearl?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, I think something like that color particular, I think it's almost indestructible. But if you get some of the maroon cars, they have some fade.
But the paint on this car is excellent. So this car has, when I got it, so I bought it at an auction. And so when I got it, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know if it ran, it initially didn't start. So I found out after replacing the battery that it had 151,000 miles on it. It was, yeah. And it, when I bought it at the auction place, it was, you don't really have an option to try it out. It's like, here, buy it sight unseen, essentially. So it was marked as a run and drive vehicle, which obviously it is. That's not always the case, and we can get into that in a little bit. So the paint is amazing for the fact that this car came from Idaho and probably spent some time in the snow. There's no rust. The paint is great. There's like a couple little scrapes, little dings, like maybe one dent, but the paint looks awesome. I do need to wash it for sure. It's funny because I didn't wash it for my video because I just wanted to like show how it looked when I just got it from the auction. And there were a few people that complained, why didn't you wash your car before you filmed it? Like, I just got it.
This is how it came to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I think that thing would look absolutely amazing with just like a simple, cut and buff on that. And it would probably,
oh God.
Add $1,000 value to the car right there.
Yes.
So,
I think some elbow grease. I could probably sell that. I mean, assume we can talk about the problems with it, but assume I can get all the issues sorted out. I feel like I could sell this for a few $1,000.
Yeah, totally. Especially like there wasn't many of these things sold, and there's even few of them left around. So
yeah, it's
not something you would sell as like, this is a new daily driver for you or a cheap car. It needs to go to somebody who would appreciate it, an enthusiast, if you would, or somebody who just likes weird, quirky, early 90s.
I think it's old enough now where it's sort of, there's nostalgia for this car, I talked about, oh, my grandma used to have that car. I totally want that, So yes, let's talk about the engine. So 2JZ, 220 horsepower, except for it's not running right. So there was a couple of things that since the video had been posted, I tried to get it going, but there's still some issues. Replaced the distributor because it was leaking oil, and there's all sorts of, it just wasn't in good shape. So I brought it to this mechanic that was trying to help me fix it up. We replaced that. There's a couple intake boots that had failed. New spark plug wires. What else did we do? We tried a new mass airflow sensor. It basically didn't run. It's like it didn't like the new sensor, which is weird.
Okay.
So it basically wouldn't run. So I've tried a few things with this car. In the video, I tried setting the timing because that wasn't set properly. So when the car is set it's supposed to be set to 10 degrees. When it's set to that, it basically bogs when you're trying to accelerate it. And then if you just under load, so if you're trying to drive it, it just bogs, and it's like it's not getting any, I'm not really sure. Like the air fuel mixture is screwed up. That's what it seems like to me. It's like the computer is not, it's getting unmetered air somewhere, or something's happening where it's not setting the mixture properly. So, but when you stop and you get it past like 1,000 RPM, and you're just you're just stopped and rev the engine, it's fine. Like above 2,000, it sounds great. And then, so the only way I was able to like drive the car is when it was set to like almost 30 degrees, which is not good because then it's pinging.
Yeah.
So it drives. That's the thing, is then it will actually drive, but it pings and it stalls. So there's I don't think it's just the timing. It could also be the fact that the car sat for so long, and maybe there's just a bunch of gunk in the fuel system, and I really just need to like flush the whole fuel system. Yeah. But and also in the video, I was noticing a smell, which I thought was the fuel system cleaner, but I'm kind of wondering if it was instead me ruining my catalytic converter. Somebody had pointed that out, and I'm like, oh, that could be what that smell was. So I could have been melting the cat because it was obviously if you have the timing set wrong, it can run hot, and then I don't know. This is all stuff that I'm learning. I've mentioned before, I'm a terrible mechanic, so I don't know. I need a little bit more help. I'm gonna try to enlist the help of another mechanic because this guy that I worked with didn't really quite get it to the finish line.
Yes. So, you need to get it to Dominic Toretto or one of those Fast and the Furious guys to set your 2JZ up. No, but from what I know, these engines are supposed to be they're pretty stout and everything like that. So it's probably nothing too crazy that it needs. And then even though the smell might have been the cat, I don't know if it was. You melted the whole thing. I'm sure it's fine.
Well, it's funny because I smelled it just immediately after I put in the fuel system cleaner. So I just assumed it was, burning some crap out of the.
It could have very well been. So
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think I would worry too much about that. I think it might be something in the fuel delivery system. Again, I'm
not clogged fuel filter or something maybe.
Like that. The car is just starving for fuel, and you set the timing kind of funky on it, and it's like, okay, cool. I'm timed good, but this thing's not,
Sure. I mean, who knows? Maybe with the car sitting that long, the fuel pump screwed up. I know. I probably should just try to test that next.
That would be my next.
If any of the listeners have any ideas, let me know in the comments below.
No, I think that would be a good start on it right there because that'll get you going. But I mean, that would be awesome to get that car up and driving. Because those engines, of course, you can mod the absolute living hell out of them, and they can do thousands of horsepower. But besides that, they're an iron block, aluminum head, workhorse of an engine that at 100, how many miles you said it has on it? 148?
151. So it's like nothing for a Toyota.
It's broken in. You can drive that car for years, Ethan. Years. Yeah. It would be fine. And it looks
so fun. It's so funny though. If you want to buy it, there's already people lining up to buy this thing. It's so funny because it doesn't even run right, and there's a few people that are saying, "Hey, get that going! I want it."
Well, it's because they're hard to find, and I kind of mentioned before we started recording. I have a little bit of a love affair with the GS because the first I don't want to say fast, but the first car that wasn't like one of my parents' Thunderbirds that I rode in that was like that threw me back in the seat it wasn't this generation GS, but the second generation. It was after high school? Jeez, it was after high school. A friend of mine her dad had bought one, and she's like, she showed up one day. She goes, "Let's go for a ride. I want to show you this thing." And getting thrown back, it was a GS400, so it had the big V8 in it, and well, not big, but the V8 in it, and it was like, this is awesome. And it wasn't long after that the Long Beach Grand Prix went on, and it used to be sponsored by Toyota, and I would go to the race every couple years, not every single year, but every couple years with my dad. And that particular year, that same like Lexus GS400 was like the pace car for the Indy cars. And I would see it would come, and we used to sit kind of by the final hairpin of the course, and it would come around that thing, and it would just hammer on the throttle, and just that sound of that Japanese V8. And I was like, okay, that's pretty bitchin'. And actually, when I bought my E46 back in January 2018, I was in the market looking for GSs before I decided to get an E46. I mean, who knows what would have happened from that point, because I was looking for a GS400.
I'd still be driving it.
I would probably still be driving it. I wouldn't have the fit, and I'd been hanging out in the back with my cushy automatic GS. I love those cars. And I started, when I was looking for like the second generation GS400, that's when I started thinking like, well, what about that first generation? That thing's a lot more kind of Radwood approved and everything. I was like, those are so cool. And then, you start looking at pictures of them and doing research, and you see like the Japanese Aristos, and you're like, man, that's so cool. And then like you get these crazy 2JZ ideas in your head, and before you know it, you're like, wait a minute, hey, hold on. But still, cool car though. I'm really excited for you that you have that thing, and jealous that you get to. Well, hopefully you'll get to enjoy it to its 220 horsepower potential.
Yes. So. Yeah. And this is a car that, honestly, I basically want to just get it running. I want to enjoy it for a little bit, maybe do a little small road trip in it, and then I'm probably going to sell it. So I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll let you know. But yeah, I got to clean it up first. I want, like, that's probably going to be a nice project to really do a deep clean on that interior. Yeah. Definitely. It looks like it hasn't been cleaned in 4 years or 5 years or however long it's been sitting. So
but that's the thing is the quality of the materials inside, like the carpets and stuff that Lexus use, it's pretty good stuff. So I mean,
the leather looks awesome.
It's gonna clean up really nice, I think.
Yeah.
And even though like it's like the wheels, you can get some of that like iron remover and try to see if that removes some of the caked on brake dust. But I think that's going to be the only thing that might let the car down a little bit. But if the rest of it looks great, then you're good. So
sure, yeah.
Oh, very excited.
Yeah. Can we talk about the other luxury mark vehicle that I purchased?
Yes. I want to hear about this. I want to hear how this one is going. So
okay, so this one I haven't done a video with yet. I don't know, maybe by the time this is posted, maybe, but so I told you maybe a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago at this point, I bought a 99 Acura Integra LS. So non-VTEC, just kind of the basic, like, okay, this is your basic Integra. Doesn't kick into VTEC-yo. It's just kind of a plain Integra. It had 93,000 miles on the clock. I bought it at an auction, sight unseen again, which is always risky. It was marked as it being a run and drive vehicle. But when I got it, it was most definitely not.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yep. Most definitely not. And usually those listings are, when something's tagged like that, it usually is correct. So, but this one was not.
Oh.
So I got the car here. I have to look up to see how much I paid for it because I bought a few cars recently. I don't actually remember how much I paid for it. But it wasn't that much. But I got it here and realized that, I kind of looked at the engine a little bit and it wasn't starting. It wasn't cranking. It would crank, but it just wouldn't turn over. And, I found the sticker on the front that said timing belt service about 300 miles prior.
Oh.
So the car had been auctioned off 300 miles after it had a timing belt service.
Okay.
So then I was thinking, okay, this isn't a good sign. Because why would the car get sent to an auction with a new timing belt with only 93,000 miles on it? So basically I started getting into it, and I enlisted the help of a mechanic to kind of sort it out. And he said, your head's bad. Whoever put the timing belt in didn't do it right. It was probably off by a lot. And there's a couple couple valve marks on the pistons, and so this 93,000 mile Integra wasn't exactly as billed.
Oh man, that's so sad to hear. This was your first Honda product too.
Yeah, my first Honda, and that's the price you had to pay when you're buying auction cars. So
okay, so I want to hear about the auction process because you've mentioned this run and drive thing. So the Integra you got is dead, and
yes.
Is that the end of the Integra, or are we putting a B18 C5 in this thing?
Those are too expensive. I looked into that. So this has the B18B. Is that what it is? I'm not really too familiar with Hondas. So that's the non-VTEC. So that's what it came with from the factory with the LS. So I looked all around for the C motor, and it was just, I don't know, like $2-3 grand. Maybe I'm not looking in the right spots, but I don't know. And I also don't know if those are more rare.
Yeah. C5 is the Integra Type R motor. The C1.
Oh, that's the Type R. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
C1's the GSR motor, B18 C1. And then after that, you can get totally nuts with those things and do tons of crazy to them. But right now it's not running and driving.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure what the plan is. I think, the head's off. So I'm thinking, okay, well, how much would it cost to just machine the head and replace a few parts? Actually, I think the pistons might be salvageable. So there's I don't know. We'll have to see. But it's like just ever so slight scuff on the top of the piston, on one of the pistons, I believe.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it'll work fine.
So I don't know. So the thing is, I'm already sort of invested in the car, and the car wasn't that expensive. So I'm thinking, okay, I could probably have the head redone and have that sort of the top end done, and maybe break even on the car. So the thing is, like, the 93,000 miles doesn't really matter if it's got the top end's rebuilt. That's sort of, it's like, who cares at that point? I mean, I guess the rest of the car only has 93,000 miles on it, so maybe that's still valid.
That's for an Integra of that kind, and I mean, from the picture that you sent me of it, it's fairly clean too. So
it looks great. It looks awesome. It definitely looks like a 90,000 mile car from 1999. Obviously, somebody took care of it. The interior is pristine. The exterior is really nice. You can find a couple small dents and dings, but this is one of the nicest Integras I've seen in a while. So I feel like
saving.
I don't know how much it's worth. It's a non-VTEC, it's the LS. It looks nice. It's got a manual transmission, which is nice. It'll have a new head and everything once I'm done with it. But I don't know. I could throw it up on Cars and Bids or bring a trailer and see how much it brings.
Totally. I think it would be worth it to save that car. I mean, for the condition it's in, because if I'm looking for an Integra and I'm seeing all these clapped out things that have broken body kits and will not pass smog because it's got a B20 in it,
sure,
which is like a CRV engine with like a
I think when I list this, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you're good with the non-VTEC. I think it's worth listing, worth saving.
Sure. Well, I think that's the thing. It's like I looked on Craigslist tonight to see what kind of Integras are up there to get a sense for what the going rates are. I found 2 salvage title Integras that are going for like $4,000. I'm like, okay, that's maybe somebody's paying that. I don't know. They don't look very nice, but
that's kind of the price for an Integra now, even with a salvage title. Most of them have salvage titles because not because they were in an accident, but because theft recovery.
Sure. Yes, exactly. I mean, who knows? Maybe the one that I have it's at the shop now. Who knows? It's probably stolen. But
oh man,
it's gone. Exactly. The shop stole it. But that's the thing. I think I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this car, but you're right. It is worth fixing up and just making so stock, like nothing modified. It's just as stock as it possibly could be, because it's like the 240, like the Nissan 240 SX. There's like 2 that are left in the world that are not modified. And if I was going to have a 240 SX, I want a not clapped out one. I want one that's stock. Yeah. Same thing with the Integra. That's why I was interested in this car, is that it was low miles and it was not completely effed up.
Right. And even in its non-VTEC form, it's still a really fun car to drive. It doesn't have the 170 horsepower that a GSR has. It doesn't have the 195 horsepower an Integra Type R has. But I think you're still dealing with 140, but you're in a car that weighs probably less than your XB. I mean,
maybe,
or just about the same. So, in a lower center of gravity and double wishbone front and rear suspension, and it's a recipe for a lot of fun. So,
sure,
I say save that one. There you go.
But, definitely. I'm excited about it. I haven't even driven it yet, so I've just been fixing it.
Definitely, I think that thing needs to be saved. And if you do go to sell it, I'm sure it would sell for a decent amount of money, because you look at, I mean, it's not an Integra Type R, but you saw the Integra Type R they're selling for like really stupid money right now. And the fact that it's a clean Integra that, like, with 94,000 miles on it, that somebody would pay, I think, pretty good money for that, just to have a clean start like that if they wanted to build it into something.
I wonder because I think it would be really great to get like $5,000 for it. I have no idea if that's possible. No idea.
I think you're looking more like at 6, to be honest.
Yeah, that would be nice if I could. It's just, I think the problem is that there's this assumption that so many Integras are just garbage now.
They are. That's a clean one. And so that's a rarity, and that would sell, and somebody would be very happy to have that thing, or you would be very happy to keep it and drive it around just like the GS. I mean, man, you've got some really good stuff over there now, Ethan.
I also have some garbage.
Well,
but you're right. Yeah, these cars, just with a little bit of work, I think are going to be really nice.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna have to finish both the GS and the Integra, and you're gonna have to like alternate weeks on them and make a decision on which one, which one would you keep if for a daily, because I think they they're around the same contention in terms of like usability. I mean, the Integra is probably a bit more fun to drive, but the Lexus is a bit more comfortable. It's got the automatic, and
that's the thing for a daily driver. Well, for me, I mean, with COVID, it's like I'm not really going anywhere other than I'm basically just taking fun drives. That's all I do now is fun drives, which is amazing. I love that because I hate commuting.
But in the theoretical future, when things go back to somewhat whatever normal will be,
I'm staying at home.
There you go. Well,
I'm just going to continue staying at home. But yeah, it's hard to say. I'd have to go back and forth. I mean, when the pandemic wasn't here, I was driving 944 turbo to work every day.
I don't blame you.
On our compound tires, ruining them on the freeway, but every single day. So as cushy and as nice as the Lexus probably is, or will be when it's done, I don't know. That may be more like hey, let's go to the beach. The family goes to the beach or something, or just takes a nice cruise.
Yeah. Well, you'll have two very nice cars to choose from. I want to know about the auction thing. So this is you've done a few things with the auction stuff. I know was the Ram truck, was that the first thing you bought in an auction?
That was the first one. Yep.
And so these are public auctions, right? So you don't need to have a reseller license, correct?
No. So basically these are all through Copart. So Copart, if you're familiar with auctions, they're like one of the biggest ones. They get a lot of crashed vehicles. They get donated vehicles. They get everything. So you technically, for most of the things that are sold through Copart, you do need a dealer's license. Okay. So obviously I do not have a dealer's license, but there are these brokers that you can go through that will act as a dealer for you on your behalf. Okay. So it allows you to have access to Copart auctions without having a dealer's license. So the benefit of that is, you get access to a whole bunch of cars across the US. The downside is now you have fees. So when I said, when I talk about the $300 Ford Probe that I got, yes, the car itself was $300, but the fees were more than that, so I don't remember exactly how much, but for a $300 car, they're not that much, but
right.
But for like the Ram truck that I bought, the fees were, somewhat substantial. Still not as expensive as buying, a Ram truck from a dealer or something. It was way less than that. But so the basic thing is there's a bunch of different sites that you can use to act as your broker. I'm using one called Auto Bidmaster, which it seemed to have the best search. That was the only reason why I chose it, because it seemed to have the best search. So you can just search for different cars all across the US and Canada too, and you can tag them. I'm only interested in clean title cars. I'm only interested in cars that run and drive. That didn't always work that way, but they do try to test them and mark them as run and drive. Right. And that doesn't necessarily mean they'll drive when you get them. Most likely they won't, because they sit for a long time and the battery will most definitely be dead by the time it gets to you. So anything that's tagged as run and drive, you automatically probably have to put a new battery in it, at least. So, and actually with the Probe, this happened with both the Probe and the Integra, that they had what is there's like the first fuse in line that protects like the whole circuit from whatever that fuse is. Both of those were blown on both the Probe and the Integra, which leads me to believe that people were jump starting these cars, like trying to jump them, and just had the leads reversed and probably blew that fuse. really easy to get to in the Probe. So I don't know.
Of all the other things that are not easy.
Exactly. Everything else is not. So basically you have to put in order to bid on Auto Bidmaster or any of those sites, you generally have to put in a deposit, and that basically protects them. So if you place a bid on a car and you decide to not pay for it, they're protected for the Copart fees. So you have to put in a little bit of money to do that. And then, it's kind of fun. You go and search and,
actually on it right now. And I'm like, look at all this.
Yeah.
Buy it now. 97 Ford Escort LX, $400.
There you go. So basically you can bid ahead of time, and that'll automatically put a bid in for you, or you can just wait until the actual auction starts, which I like to do because it's a little bit more fun. So it's actually like a real auction. You can watch all the cars sort of come down the line virtually and then bid on it when it's there. And then that's how I won the Probe. I actually sort of won the Probe sort of by accident. I had no idea that I was going to win. I just put in a bid for like 300. It's like, surely somebody will outbid me, and then nobody did.
They were like, this son of a bitch, he's gonna get periwinkle purple Probe. Boysenberry Probe.
Yeah.
So okay, so they say they run and drive, but things like this happen with the Integra, which I'm sure probably started, and they maybe throw it into gear and just see if it like moves. I think
it's very possible the Integra ran when it was there, and maybe just in the short time that it was there, it kind of, I don't know, but
okay.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Yeah, pretty much they'll start it, see if it moves, and they don't drive it down the road. They just want to see if it will move a little bit in the lot, and then they'll put a check mark on it if it runs and drives. I think the thing is you're going on photos. That's it. So you could, if it's an auction that's nearby, you could go and inspect the vehicles during the time that they allow inspections. The problem is, living in California, California has a law that you can't buy, even through a broker. I can't get a car from California. So there's a Copart location like 5 minutes from my house, but I can't buy cars from it unless I'm a dealer. So that's why I try to pick states that are close. The truck was from Arizona, so shipping wouldn't be very expensive. Sure. The Probe is from Colorado. The Lexus was from Idaho, but for some reason shipping wasn't that bad. And then the Acura was from Nevada.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
So yeah, and the thing is, you're going on photo, so you really have to look very closely. And when I was buying the Ram 1500, I got it, and then I realized, it's got a dent on the tailgate. I totally missed that because the photos kind of suck. They're sort of low res, and but that it's pretty risky. I'm definitely up for taking some risks. The doing the Ram truck as my first auction purchase was pretty stupid, but that one actually worked out the best.
Uh-huh.
So that car just started immediately after I put a new battery in it. It was no problem. So,
and it was all good. And and it's a good truck.
So. Didn't need anything other than a battery,
but
gas.
But then you have some of these other more severe cases.
Well, the thing is, like for like the Probe, $300. It was like, okay, let's take a chance. There's not a whole lot of risk here.
Yeah, this is
and it was going to get crushed. Nobody was going to buy that for driving enjoyment. I was the only one that happened to see that purple Probe, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I can save this thing.
Yeah, totally. Oh man, this is
Don't do it.
I'm on the site now, and I'm like, wow, I got to register if I want to go to the next page. But like, there was already like a Pontiac Aztek. There's a $400 Volvo 240. I'm like, oh boy, okay. So
yeah,
I'm gonna just close this. Close that one. Okay, I'm
sure.
Back. Close that browser page.
The thing is, it's kind of fun. The thing that I wish I was better at is I wish I was a better mechanic, or I wish I knew a mechanic that actually like wanted to help me fix these things, on a regular basis, because I feel like I could probably find some cars like this that are just cars that nobody really cares about anymore. But if you market them right, like I feel like if I can get the Probe fixed up, cleaned up, I could probably make some money off of it because I know who likes those cars. the average person that has this car may not spend the time to try to find the niche audience for a Ford Probe, but I would do that. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff that I could do by, buying these cars and keeping them for a while, making some videos with them and ultimately flipping them. But I just don't have the mechanical knowledge to really make that happen on my own. Need to partner up with a mechanic.
You need to find your own car wizard, like
yes, like
Uber, and
I know.
You find somebody that can bring all these fun little Copart finds into to repair, and have the person just scratch their head like, what in the hell now? And before you know it, you'll be buying Rolls Royces from Copart and bringing them in to get fixed. I don't know if they have Rolls Royces on Copart. I'm sure they do.
They do. I've seen one.
The 70s that are all hydraulic, mineral oil for suspension and silly things like that.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it's been how many cars now? Because I maybe there's more I don't know about, but I mean,
I'm not the kind of hoarder that doesn't tell people about the cars. I'm sort of like the opposite of that, because I remember reading stories about car hoarders that they have like 50 cars, and their wives or significant others only know about like 5 of them. They like hide them places. I'm like, what's the fun in that? I want to tell everybody about my stupidity.
I think there's a couple cars in the parking lot at my work and inside the shop that significant others don't know about.
Oh, okay. Yikes.
It's pretty funny. But it's like, okay, well, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. Yeah, that's not mine if somebody asks. So, okay. So,
yeah.
But, oh man, I think that's going to be my next like fun car thing I do. I want to try to buy one of these auction cars.
You should definitely do it.
I think it would be cool because, there's just in that first page, I saw there was that 97 manual transmission Ford Escort. I'll never buy another Ford, but like that's like something I saw. And then of course there was an Aztec, which, was on my list of something I'd love to own and clean it up, paint it olive green or whatever color Walter White's was. And just, you sell it for $6,000 then, because like, oh, it's like, this is the one from Breaking Bad. Yeah, this is it. It has the tent. So, oh man, I'm going to have to register for that thing later.
So actually, just as a example, for the Probe, I paid $300 for it. I think the fees were, I can't find it exactly. I feel like the fees were like $500. So the fees were more than the car. And then shipping, that's not exactly cheap either. I feel like from Colorado, it wasn't that bad. But so when you think of like, okay, if you get a car for $500, you're probably looking at more like $1,500 maybe, or maybe even more when you include, depending on where you're shipping it from. So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at these things. Obviously, I'd love to find somebody that has a dealer license and be like, hey, can I just go to the Van Nuys California Copart with you one day and just bid on a car?
Totally. I think that buying a car at auction, you've done it a few times now, is like one of those things that like just
online though. Yeah.
Well, just online, but like it's almost like, eBay, but you're not buying some $30,000 thing, for the most part. It's something that I think if you're a car enthusiast, it's something you got to try to do once, because like you said, it's exhilarating and fun. Like you said, you were, live bidding on that Probe, and, you got it. And it's just one of those things that I think any car enthusiast needs to do in their life. Cause I know in like Japan, they do them, and you can see some of there's been, what was the episode? The Wheeler Dealer Show. They did an episode when they bought a car in Japan and they were buying it. And also Mighty Car Mods on YouTube. They've done videos where they buy the cars at auction, and it's just this crazy like setup they have for everything. And it just looks so much fun. And I'd love to just do that once, even if it's not, I'm not buying like a dream car or something like that. Something like
something silly,
like, yes, I got it, and now it's here, and I'm gonna clean it up and fix it and love it for a little bit, and then send it on its way to its next new fun owner that hopefully it lasts with. So, well, that's tons of fun. That's so cool. I'm jealous of both of your recent acquisitions.
Well, you'll definitely be able to drive either of them soon, hopefully, because I think we're well on the way to getting them both running.
Nice.
Like, I have too many vehicles, so just borrow them for indefinitely. I don't care.
See, that's the thing is I've got space in my driveway for another car, maybe two, and
sure.
It just looks so empty and sad. So the neighbors think it looks great right now, but I have other options. I have other visions. So I just want to
sure.
So the charade doesn't take up too much space. So
yeah, you can fit quite a few charades.
Yes.
In there. But yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through now. There's a Lexus GS300. It's in North Carolina. Let me just see if it's actually damaged. Oh yeah, it's damaged. Crap. That's the thing. It's like some of these you kind of got to sort through the body.
Yeah.
The body damaged ones, because I don't want to deal with any of that stuff.
No.
But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff if you just kind of wait. A few months ago, there was a 50,000 mile Mazda 626, which I totally wanted, but it was one of those things where I forgot about the auction, and then I found out 2 hours later, it's sold.
And it was like $200, and you're like, why?
Yeah, it wasn't that cheap, but
yeah, it's one of those things like
and right here, I'm just looking at this. This is light blue 97 Mazda MPV wagon.
Ooh.
They call it a wagon, but it's a van.
Right.
95,000 miles on it. It looks, obviously the plastics are faded because it's old, but it looks pretty nice. It run and drive. What else is in here? There's a Corolla FX16.
Okay.
I'm actually, this one says, okay, so here's another thing. You got to look at the type of damage that it has. This one, it's listed as biohazard / chemical.
Yeah.
So looking at this photo, it looks like it had been dredged out of a swamp, but it probably had just been sitting under trees for a while. But
biohazard, yeah. I mean,
there's actually sort of like a dark side to auctions too, because you can see vehicles sometimes that were clearly in a bad accident where you have to imagine that the occupants did not make it. And some of those say biohazard. I'm like, okay, I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you'd dangle a 50,000 mile charade under my nose that still says biohazard. I'd be like, yeah, sorry guys, that's a pass on that one. So,
yeah.
Well, it sounds like fun. I got to do that this year. That's probably going to be my 2020, 2021 school year goals, is to maybe try to buy something at auction and clean it up a bit and give it some love, and then send it on its merry way some way. So I'm gonna have to sign up for that site and go and start poking around it and see what sort of.
Or even if you don't want to sign up right away, just go to Copart. I think you might be able to search Copart without even getting an account. But this site actually has a better search than Copart does. So
all of you listeners out there, this has been a PSA for going to find fun stuff.
I'm not going to recommend it. It's too risky for probably most people, but it's fun because
you like living dangerously.
Yeah,
you have $400 in your back pocket. You go to Copart.
And that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. If you have a little bit of money in a slush fund for silly cars, then yeah, go for it. But if you're kind of tight on cash, I wouldn't recommend it.
I think it's a more exhilarating experience than like finding something on Craigslist or OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace. In a way it is. I mean, because, you still got to bring it in, like you said, from out of state. But then there's more of a story with a car. I don't know. It just depends. Especially if you're like really looking for some niche car, like, I've had this really, really weird thing going on with me and wanting a Renault Lacar the last couple weeks.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
They're so sweet, and there's actually 2 for sale, I think, that I was able to find around Southern California that are relatively cheap. But like, just as an example, if you couldn't find one and like you're on Copart, somebody's turned in a Renault Lacar, and I want to get it over here, but it's in Massachusetts, and it just adds to the fun story. Yeah, it was in Massachusetts. I brought it over here. I change the battery, put new tires on it, and now it's running and it's great, and now it's living its new life here. You know, that's kind of cool. I think that's the part of the endearing part about doing it, especially if you feel like you're saving it. If you're like you or I, who, you know, we have these we get these kind of connections with you want to bring it because you want to save it and save it from the crusher, and you know, it's kind of cool when that happens, I think.
Yeah, I think the Ford Probe is a great example of that, where, you know, in the context of an auction lot, it's kind of nothing, you know, nobody cares about it. But I posted a couple pictures of that and posted it to the Radwood Facebook group and Malaise Motors and a few, like there's a Ford Probe group, and people are like, oh, that's so cool. I haven't seen one of those in so long. I totally want that. I used to own one of those when I was young or whatever, you know. So there's just, you know, most people aren't looking through auctions for these cars. So
kind of an untapped little thing, but I don't know. Maybe this is going to be the start of a new insurgence of the Radwood community looking for their next Radwood project through the use of Copart or something like this. But cool.
Okay, yeah. There's lots of good stuff. There's one other thing that I thought was pretty neat. There's a 93 Pontiac Sunbird with a red stripe, and it looks amazing. There's lots of really cool random stuff like that you know, again, in the context, it's a 5-speed manual. In the context of an auction, who cares?
Yeah. Because nobody's
going to Radwood.
Nobody's going to buy that to put on their used car lot. That's not going to happen. It's going to get crushed.
Yes.
And you know, it's giving me the memories of the time that I worked at CarMax for those 7 years, and we'd get those wholesale cars, and it was very similar. That's how I got the Daihatsu. Was like, it was, you know, you basically save it because nobody was going to buy that thing. It was just going to sit. Yeah. They were just going to send it off to the scrap, and because nobody would buy it, you know, and that's kind of the cool thing about that. So the fact that you can get yourself into it without having to go work for CarMax, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because who wants to do that? Who wants to do that? Nice.
Very good. Yeah. Lots of fun. Lots of interesting, knowledgeable things gained tonight about buying a car through a website and learning about Integras and their heads that need to get rebuilt and GSs. A lot of good stuff. Yeah, nothing. It worked out because I really don't have anything on my end over here. So the cars, they're dirty. They need to get washed. Yeah. There's my update. They need to get washed.
There you go.
A bath. Nothing else new. They need gas. So that's it. Yeah. But no, that's awesome. Like I said, I'm both jealous and excited for both of your new acquisitions. I think out of all the cars in your fleet, those are, if I was to choose from the candy store that is Ethan's fleet of cars, I would definitely gravitate towards either of those things. I don't know, maybe the twin cam, but that's yours. That's yours. I'll let you keep that one. So, but no, they're great. I think once they're both running, I think they're going to both be very enjoyable and be good, reliable cars that, you know, I don't think are going to have massive issues, and they're not necessarily rare either, where, like, you know, it's hard to find a part like ECU for a Stanza wagon or like that there is kind of the beauty in that. So
exactly, there's enough parts that are shared with other Toyotas for the Lexus and the Acura. They made tons of those. So yeah, even if anything I can think of for that Acura, I can probably get.
You know, they make spin parts for it too. I'm just saying.
No, I got to keep this thing stock. Got to keep it stock. All stock, all the time.
I'll send you the spoon catalog after we're done. Oh, I can do that to it? Oh, that too? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. We didn't even talk about that. I'm posting a video tomorrow about my Scion XB. Currently, I took off the bumper, took off the headlights, took off the grille, took off the side skirts, took off the rear bumper. I took out the windshield wipers. I'm just about ready to take off all of the rubber. It's getting a repaint.
Oh, okay. I was like, are you getting into a Mad Max car? What's going on? Okay. So it's getting painted. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I haven't decided if paint or, I don't know. Somebody put in my head the idea of Plastidip, which I don't know if that's a good idea, because that seems like that'll just not last very long. But I don't know.
But don't do right. That's all I ask.
No.
Right.
Yeah. No. Anyway, well, we can talk about that again. We can talk about that next episode. And I also maybe for next episode, I want to get back on this idea of doing a Hello Road rally.
Yeah.
So, I'm obviously at the beginning of the year, we talked about this idea of doing a rally around some of the really great Southern California roads. And, then coronavirus, damn pandemic happened.
Oh.
So, I wanted this to be something that was sort of a multi-day affair where, you're driving somewhere or you have a party and then you stay at a hotel and then you drive the next day. Like that's not going to happen because obviously the party's nixed. So people, I'm not really into the idea of staying at a hotel right now.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much staying at home. So
yeah. I agree. No, I mean, I found some really cool spots, for some ideas and stuff. So yeah, I think it'd be a great thing to talk through some more of that stuff next time for sure, because when we started this whole thing, that was like the main thing. Like, hey, let's do this rally. Oh yeah, I can do a podcast too.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like maybe it starts off as just okay. Let's do a full day somewhere. You meet it early in the morning. You end up somewhere at night, and maybe there's no party. You got to do a socially distanced picnic or something halfway through. Yep. I envisioned it as being a much more grand thing, but which is maybe try to work within the constraints that we have and still try to do something fun. So
we'll talk through it, I think. And, and we'll see. We'll go from there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's probably it for today. Why don't we talk about our social media presences, your massive social media presence that you have? Where can we find you?
Social media presence can be found at Paul's Finest Hour on both Instagram and Twitter, where, nothing really going on Twitter. But Instagram, hopefully there'll be some more stuff coming up soon.
Yeah. So, cool.
What about you?
I can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. Ethan Tufts, and on YouTube, youtube.com/HelloRoad. There'll be more updates on my Purple Ford Probe, Lexus GS300. Probably do a video on the Acura soon once I get it back. Scion XB getting fixed up. And then all the other cars I forgot about. They're just sitting somewhere not being used. So I'll get to them. I will eventually.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Good night.